Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod, and this is Star Wars 7x7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy, and thank you so much for joining me for it. So the last story in this current little mini-series run of looks at the From a Certain Point of View collection celebrating 40 years of Return of the Jedi, the last one that we're looking at in this run now features a character that we grew to love from the prequel trilogy. That would be Dexter Jettster, the owner and proprietor of Dexter's Diner, which we find out in this short story, The Veteran, sadly is no more. The diner closed not long after Wanda, one of his droids and sassy servers, broke down about 3 years into the reign of the Empire. Now, it's not clear from the story what Dexter has been doing in the intervening years, but one imagines that he hasn't been just sitting on his duff necessarily, though his outlook, his point of view is really very bleak. He has seen the holographic recordings on pirate radio, as it were, of the second Death Star blowing up and is not sure whether to believe it or not. He really kind of only wants to believe it if he sees it firsthand, but he's still on Coruscant and he hears all the, the chaos and the rioting, and so the stuff that we've seen in the special edition with people celebrating on Coruscant after the fall of the Death Star, those scenes that they added for the special edition, right? That's basically where this is taking place. And Dexter, way down in the 2000s of the levels of Coruscant, and apparently goes down 5,200 levels according to this story at the very least. Dex's curiosity gets the better of him and he decides that he needs to go up to the surface and see what's been going on. And to do that, he has to take basically this very long circuitous route, because sometimes the Imperials will shut down the lifts to the higher levels as a means of controlling the masses, which is really kind of creepy and fascisty when you think about it, of course. But there are old smugglers' routes that allow him to go all over the place and wind up coming through the abandoned Dexter's Diner and then out into the spaces around Cocoa Town, it's called, and they get to see a lot of rioting happening, and then Coruscant security forces getting mad after the statue of Palpatine has been toppled. And while all this is going on, Dexter is thinking about Obi-Wan Kenobi and about how he started the war. Apparently, Dexter is walking around thinking that he is responsible for starting the Clone Wars in some fashion because he was so eager to share what he knew about that saber dart that had been shot at Zam Wesell, that it's his fault that everything kind of toppled domino-like the way that it was. That level of, I guess it's hubris in this case, is really kind of surprising from Dex, who has lived a very long life. He's talked about how, the narrative talks about how he saw the Nihil defeated in the High Republic, and that's fun to see since we're coming into phase 3 of the High Republic storytelling right now. He saw the fall of the Republic, and now he's seeing the fall of the Empire, and he is thinking of the hope that people have as just a very hollow thing, and thinks that people are really foolish for feeling that way. He says the fools are feasting tonight, but they're going to have empty stomachs tomorrow. So yeah, he's really not in a good place and hasn't been, it seems, for a while. But one act of mercy and kindness seems to put him back onto a better track. A young girl stops a mob from throwing a stormtrooper down into the abyss, and then the stormtrooper, once the mob has been dispersed, is like, "Get away from me!" and has no gratitude whatsoever. But it doesn't matter because the young girl says, this is who we're supposed to be, basically, and she's heard stories about the Jedi and how the Jedi are like stars in her imagining. She can't see stars from Coruscant, but she's told that they were there, and she's heard of legends about the Jedi, and that leads Dex to eventually say, hey, why don't I tell you about my old friend Obi-Wan? And that pretty much covers all the plot points and the details of interest in this story, The Veteran, that I think might be of interest to you. And so that's going to do it for this episode of the podcast. And if you enjoy what I'm doing on a daily basis here and have been doing it on a daily basis since July of 2014, I hope you'll consider supporting me in continuing this as I get closer to a 10th anniversary of the podcast. please consider supporting the show at patreon.com/SW7X7. Again, that's patreon.com/SW7X7. And it just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me for this episode, as always, and may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited, or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.